But get some reality into this. I lay here this morning, it was about, well, it must have been about 7 o'clock, and I thought, I don't really have anything to say this morning. Well, obviously I can't just keep on producing recordings. I mean, goodness, you're up to 3,000 something already, Marshall. I mean, if you haven't done it by now, you're not going to do it. And then I recorded this. And when I launched on it at the very beginning, I thought, no, this is very worldly. You're not even sure of the truth of this, Marshall. It's not thought out. I mean, you're dead, Marshall. Why are you recording? Just inertia or what? What is it? And God unfolds and speaks. And it might be like the sermon I listened to yesterday. I mean, a good-intentioned chap in his way. Gosh, he went on too long. And I was totally switched off, quite honestly. Sitting right in front of him, trying not to be too much of a burden on him, you know what I mean? And then suddenly he was speaking to me. He was talking about the way the church should not reject that which it thinks is, well, quite honestly, unclean or wrong or not right. But on the contrary, should give love and kindness towards them, that they might live and prosper into life eternal. And I thought, of course, in my self-centered way, yes, Marshall, you were flung out of the last church because you were not a fundamentalist. You were unclean from their point of view. And the pastor wildly, basically told me to get out. And he shouldn't have done. And so I know in my heart that my church, my God, does not throw out. Simply brings something from darkness into light, from childhood into adulthood, life eternal. An organization has to throw out and protect itself because it has perceived goals that are, well, they're not actually kingdom goals. They're organizational survival goals. For the person who trusts in God, he is free to pursue the goodness of God. He does not cast out. When my 3 wives, not all at once, you understand, not in parallel, in series, got it? When they come to the point where, it's all negative and they want to go, and they go. Well, Marshall waits for them to go, doing what he can to encourage them not to, but letting them go when they go. But never casting out. They may cast out. They cast out in a sense by leaving themselves. In each case. And very sad too, very upsetting. Well, as you can imagine and perhaps know from your experience. You may say of necessity I turn more to God. Well, nothing wrong in that. What's needed is what's needed. And a great blessing too. Do you realize all of your needs are a great blessing to you? That's why God has made it so that your needs drive you into his perfect company. You are blessed by your needs that are not being met. They drive you into the arms of God, where you need to be. For how else would all your needs and your very self be met but by God when you start from no universe at all, not even nothing? Thank you, Dad, for all your loving kindness, all your provision, your wonderful self. Love you. Thank you, Dad. To clear up a few points then, this refers to the previous recording, 3055.1, of course. So this, I had little expectation of it being worthwhile. And the relevance of the sermon I was listening to in church yesterday was, well, in some sense, it went on too long, and, I was totally switched off by it, but perhaps it prepares you for the reality of the value of what finally hits home in the end. And certainly that's the way I found his sermon. Suddenly I felt I should have been more switched on for the bulk of his earlier part of the sermon. Not just come to full consciousness, if you like, at the end. And my point one recording here it is in some sense similar, that it goes through all the worldly justification and understanding and worldly wisdom, if you like, but it's dwarfed by the last few minutes, the final conclusion, which is about your relationship with God and the whole purpose and meaning of living. And what seems, now in parallel, let me say, what seems the monotony or even tortuous, endless experience of life is nonetheless but the more crowned with glory of its conclusion, your conclusion. The meaning and purpose of life, eternal life, to be gained. Pictorially, I say, in the kingdom of heaven. Do you see, when I say I'm not a fundamentalist, what I really mean is I'm far more fundamental. I'm not a literalist. It's not exoteric. I'm not wanting to form a religion for goodness sake. I want people to have life eternal. In the simplest of senses, to be happy and eternally happy, to be fulfilled. To my understanding, that's what God is about. And that he both needed to be fulfilled himself, he needed fellowship, family. And we are so unutterably blessed by that need that he had, and still has. It's an insatiable need. He has a bigger and bigger family. More and more kids. A vast host of heaven. His family, his joy. The only way I can say, and I don't quite mean it literally, I mean it in some deeper sense I can't grasp, but his meaning for living. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad.